Hello, it's Monday, which means it is time for If You Only Knew. So welcome. I am Carla Webb, Christian Life Coach. I am your host. And today I'm very excited to have my good friend, Shanti Culbertson, which I want to call her Shanti Miller because that's how I have known her my whole life. But Shanti and I go way back to elementary school, Girl Scouts. We met through Girl Scouts.
I was going to ask you if you remember that.
Oh, of course. I remember, and we met through Girl Scouts, and then we went to school together, and all the way through graduation. And our paths have crossed again as adults, and I'm just so glad that we got reconnected. This has been really fun.
It has. I love it.
Yes. So Shanti is the owner of the Paradise Leather Company, and we are sporting her beautiful earrings right here. And so, we are both two people that probably I didn't anticipate being an entrepreneur at any point in my life, and hey, here we are. And Shanti is an entrepreneur also, so we're navigating some uncharted territory for us, and we might discuss that a little bit. And then of course I have my two burning questions that I ask all of my guests, and we'll dive into those here in just a little bit. But first of all, Shanti, I would love for you to tell us a little bit about yourself, introduce yourself to my audience, and then tell a little bit about your Paradise Leather Company.
Okay. Well, thank you for having me. It's a lot of fun. My name is Shanti, and I have been a serial sort of entrepreneurial, put my foot in the water person. For decades, I tried so many things, and I think that I let fear kind of talk me out of it.
Yeah.
Up until recently, I had made some choices in my life that I was like, I'm not gonna let fear be the determining factor anymore. And so I had this, as far as the Paradise Leather Company goes. I was just looking at Instagram one day, and I saw a picture of leather earrings, and it just grabbed my attention. I was like, that's so cool. And I'm thinking those have to be so light, and you can't even you don't feel that you're wearing them. And so I was like, you know what? And they were like $25. I was like, I know I can make that. So I went to Hobby Lobby, and I just got some of whatever leather they had there, and just that's what got me started. So it was like some time while I was kind of perfecting the process. No one would have wanted to buy the first ones I made. So I was wearing them because I loved them. And then some friends, had reached out to me and said that they'd like a pair. And so my husband, he's like, so, let's try and do something with this, because there was definitely a market for it. And so, like I said, I had made this decision that I wasn't going to let fear be a determining voice, and so I was like, took a, big breath. I'm like, okay, let's do it. So we started out real small. I did some craft shows, and those went really well. And then it was like November. And my husband was like, well, let's see if we can get in the mall and get a kiosk. And so they were like, nope, it's all full, sorry. And then probably a couple of weeks later, they said, well, actually, they called us back and they said, we had someone cancel. We had one spot.
Yeah.
Do you want it? And it was like, we had to decide right then. I was like, okay, let's do it. So, we weren't prepared at all. We were up till midnight making displays for the thing. Like,
it got real fast.
It was real, and it was so DIY, and but super fun. And so we were there at Eastland Mall, and we had a great response. And it was so validating to see, women come up and they liked the product, and then they even came back. Another day, and they said, we love them. Like, we just wanted to tell you we love them, and we want more. So I was like, oh my gosh, we could really do something with this.
Yeah.
So we've just continued doing that. We were in the mall through April, and we're taking a break during the summer from the mall. We'll probably go back into the Eastland Mall in the fall, but we are still on Facebook and Instagram. And I'm working on a website and stuff like that.
Oh,
So, but yeah, it's leather earrings, some leather bracelets. It's just really, it's a lot of fun. It's a fun product, and that's where we are.
Well, I'm curious about the actual production of it. So is it like a press, or how do you make the earring?
I have a couple different ways I make it.
Okay.
So I purchased the leather from a supplier, and that can come in different ways. It can come smooth, or like the ones you're wearing have a texture, and it comes to me like that.
Okay.
But as far as the shape, I have a die press that I use so that it's got a uniform shape. I also bought a machine, a cutting machine, so that if there's some kind of intricate thing I want to do, I can do that. And then it's really, it's simple, and you just, put the hook on, and there's just really a lot of different things you can do. You can add some embellishments to it, and so it's simple.
No.
But it's a lot of fun.
All right, so this one is like woven.
Yes.
So how is it whenever you cut it, then that it has a smooth edge and doesn't like unravel? How does that work? I don't know.
That's just the way.
I don't bother.
Yeah, I don't know everything.
It just doesn't.
But it just doesn't.
Okay.
But some of them are just like that texture. I believe is before I get it, they press it.
Okay.
And I don't know exactly how that works, but it makes it so it's a firmer type of leather, so it doesn't just like fall apart.
Gotcha. Got all these notifications popping up here. All right. Well, I was curious about that. I just didn't know how that all worked out. Okay. So, anyway, I obviously got some earrings, and then I've gotten a couple pairs, or another pair since then. I had to decide which ones I was going to wear today, but purple is my signature color. So I made sure that I had my all purple ones and the big ones that you could see really good, but they are so light. I mean, it literally feels like you have nothing. You're not wearing anything. Yeah. So I love that. And
one of the main things that women would say when they came back after having worn them, they say, I'm obsessed with these. And that's how I felt when I first started. That's why I was like, I need to have a business because I just want to make these all the time. So, it's not like wearing regular large earrings,
right?
Which are heavy and they can pull on your ear.
And at the end of the day, you're so tired. You're just like, oh my God.
You take them off as soon as you get home.
And I have lost so many earrings. I have like one earring of things but at the end of the day, I'll be tired or they're bothering my ears. And so I put them in my purse. Yeah. And then I lose one of them. I can never find the other one. Yeah. Or I switch out purses, and then, a couple years later, I go to get that purse back out. I'm like, oh, that's where those earrings have been for the last 2 years.
Right. And with these, I can't tell you so many times I've gone to, like, I've laid down to go to sleep, and that's when I remember I have these in, because
they're so light.
Yeah. I've been wearing them all day and didn't know.
Well, and at the end, we'll give you some more contact information as to how you can get in contact with Shanti to get your own lovely, beautiful earrings that are so light and comfortable. So on to the big questions here. We like to dig in here. And I asked 2 questions. And so I am a Christian life coach, and I do lots of different coaching, but my main area, my niche, is relationships. And I started asking these questions, and for those of you who are tuning in for the first time and aren't familiar with If You Only Knew, the concept or the idea of If You Only Knew came from John 4:10, and the story of the woman at the well. And I was at a time in my life where the bottom had dropped out. I was just crushed into a million little pieces, not knowing how in the world I was ever going to be put back together again. And I was reading about the woman at the well, like I had so many times. And Jesus says to her, if you only knew who I am and the gift that God has for you, you would ask me for a drink of living water. And it was as if I had heard it for the first time. And I had accepted Christ as my Savior when I was 7 years old. It was a very real experience. It wasn't that I didn't know Jesus. I did. but it was as if I was seeing him and getting to know him in a new way for the very first time, in a way that I had never needed to know him before. You know, I had never been in that type of place in my life. I hadn't been crushed into a million pieces. My life had never fallen out. The bottom hadn't fallen out of my life before like that. And so I needed to get to know him in a new way, like I had never known him before. And he presented himself to me. And so then on the other side, so if you only knew, talking about, you know, Jesus saying that if you only knew who I am and the gift that God has for you, you would ask me for a drink of living water. And the other part of that is the reason that the bottom had dropped out of my life is because I had been in an abusive relationship and marriage for 17 years. And whenever you are living in an abusive situation, there's a lot of secrecy, and there's a lot of projecting yourself as a certain way in public, and then a lot of, gosh, if you only knew, if you only knew what was going on. So that's where the idea of if you only knew came from. And so the two questions that we discuss are, in regards to relationships, so now you get to be on the hot seat, Shanti.
I've been thinking about this for over a week now. What am I gonna say?
In regards to relationships, if you could go back and be your own best friend, what would you tell yourself?
So I have been thinking about it for a while, and there's a number of different things, but I feel like what made the biggest impact on my life is when I realized that other people's response or how I perceived them really had very little to do with me, and much more about about them, what was going on in their life. And so I see a lot, in young people, or I mean, just on the social media, you can see it a lot, where it's like, people are easily offended, and you see it, it's like people are upset a lot, by something, and there are a lot of upsetting things and things we can be passionate about, but I think that I know that other years ago, some people had opinions about me, and I had to choose whether I was going to let that determine how I lived my life, who I wanted to be, who I was, how I was going to move in the world. And it still helps me today. I mean, it's still a choice. I think it's still something you have to decide daily or very often, okay, I'm having this issue with this person, but is it because of something that I've done? Or is it really because this is some kind of preconceived idea they have that they're trying to put on you? And I think that they do it unconsciously, but, and it can be in, even a relationship like a marriage, a healthy marriage, but one where, you've both been raised differently. And so I remember, I thought that being right was very important. And so when my husband and I would argue early in our marriage, I needed to be right. And it didn't necessarily matter that it hurt him or the fallout of that. And so when I recognized that I was doing that, that it was more important to have a healthy relationship than it was to be right, then I changed that. And so I think that, when we are in a relationship with somebody, we have to understand that part of what's happening is they're coming from their experiences. That doesn't always have anything, that sometimes has nothing to do with you. And so as a person, you have to say, okay, they're doing that because they have this pain in their life or this issue. And I love them and I want to help them with that, but it's not actually because of me. It's not actually a reflection of me. So that would be, I think, the thing that has helped me the most in
That's
relationships.
good. That is good. So Dr. Phil, he always says, do you want to be right or do you want to be happy?
Yeah.
And there's a big difference between, because sometimes you have to choose just to be happy over being right, because being right is also subjective and depends on the person's perspective, point of view.
And there's just such, I mean, do you want to be right about how to load the dishwasher, or do you want to be right about something much more important? You know, like, come on, like, there are levels, you know, in a relationship, and you just have to learn how to be with this other person in a healthy way.
That's so true. I mean, it's like, do you want to be right about loading the dishwasher?
Yeah.
Or do you just want the dishwasher loaded?
Right.
You know, what's the big deal? Yeah, exactly. Pick your battles and just don't sweat the small stuff, because what difference does it really make in the grand scheme of things? I mean, whenever life passes and you're sitting there, you know, I always, Donald Miller, he has this exercise where you start at the end of your life and you write, like, what do you want people to say about you at your funeral? And you write that out. It's like, what do you want your life to have been, and what do you want people to remember about you, and what do you want them to be able to say about you at your funeral? And is it, well, she really knew how to load a dishwasher. Yeah. She was really right about that. Yeah, she was right. I should have listened to her. You know, exactly. It doesn't matter.
No, that's not what people. Exactly, that's not what people are wanting when they have a relationship. They want that connection. You know, and so many times in parenting, you know, you're like, my daughter, for example, we have a great relationship, and she'll tell me a lot of things that I wouldn't have told my mother. And when she's telling me things, and I'm just like, okay, she is not looking for my opinion on this, and we have a different opinion, and that's okay. And she's not like doing anything crazy, but I'm saying, like, this what we're doing here is building a relationship so that when I need to speak into her life, she'll listen. Versus, you know, you hear something you don't like as a parent, and you're like, you know, you're grounded because what, you know, that doesn't agree with me.
Yeah.
So,
and parenting, we don't have to go down this rabbit hole, but parenting an adult, my oldest son is 20 years old now, and parenting looks a whole lot different to parenting an adult, and transitioning into that role of, I'm still their parent, I'm still his mother, but our relationship is completely different. And I really had to navigate that. It's like, you know, I do want to have a relationship with my son where it is open, and he calls me on the phone to talk with me, and he feels comfortable and he feels safe being able, because he's navigating a whole new world for himself too. You know, he's never been an adult, and so he is having to navigate a lot of things. And so it is that, you know, parenting an adult child is new territory for sure.
Yeah,
but I enjoy it.
It's
super challenging, but I'm loving it. I'm absolutely loving it.
Me too.
So the second question then is, what is a truth that God has revealed to you about yourself? Because we've lived enough life where we've gone on a few spiritual journeys here and there. So what is a truth that God has revealed to you about yourself? If you've ever had to go through like a time of self-reflection and maybe learn a few lessons along the way.
Well, out of the two questions, this is the one that I was dreading most. And that's because, no, not dread. I don't have as clear of an answer for it. And I think that's because I am currently in this lesson. And so I am so happy to help other people accomplish their goals and to, you know, be that support for somebody. It is hard for me to think. It's getting easier. God is showing me. But he created me to do something that nobody else can do. or that is my, that's what I was created to do. Not to help someone to accomplish their mission in life, but I have my own mission.
Oh, yeah.
And it's not necessarily parenting, which is, I think, sometimes for women is like the default, like I'm here to be a mom. And that's very true, but you also were not just created to be a mom. You weren't, God has a purpose for your life that's yours alone. Yeah. And so I am that for whatever reason, I want to resist that. I guess I don't want to be responsible for that or something. So I just kind of throw myself into supporting other people, like, Carla, you're doing an awesome job here. Like, I totally support your mission. Like, this is awesome what you're doing. And then when I feel like, God is talking to me about what he would have me do and the people he would have me reach, that is so much harder. So I'm in that lesson. So what, something that God has shown me is that I have a mission. He created me to do something specific. And so part of that is, opening the, having this business. I think that, it's part of why I have said that I won't let fear be a determining voice. So when I have an opportunity, I take it because I don't know exactly where it's going to lead, but I don't want to say no to that opportunity.
Yeah.
I think I've said no to so many opportunities in my life that I just don't want to be that person, that says no, that looks back at their funeral. They're like, well, she was super supportive, she really didn't do anything, but she was really nice.
Everybody else.
Yeah. So, I find that really, really challenging.
Yeah, it is. It is challenging to think about what your specific purpose is, and as I've said, I am a Christian life coach, and that's one of the things that women in particular, reach out to me, and especially moms who now have adult children, that so much of their life, 18 years typically, was just about their child. Or children. So at least 18 years. It could have been, 30 years if you have several children spanning in age, and they get to a place in their life and they're like, I just don't know who I am. I don't know who I am. I don't know what God created me to be. I don't know what my purpose is anymore now that my children are gone and I'm not raising children, and I'm not just their, mother, or I have time and space to be something other than just their mother. And not just, I don't mean just. Right. But it is all consuming, and they get to a place in their life and it's just like, I don't even know what my purpose is. I don't know who God has called me to be, and they want to start exploring that because it is maybe for the first time. It is easy. Maybe that's not the right word, but it is easy to hide behind, well, I'm raising my kids right now.
Yeah.
And to not take the opportunity.
I'm too busy to do that.
Yeah. I'm too busy to do that. I don't have time for that. That's not where I am. That's not where God's calling me right now. Oh, that is such a good one. God, I just don't feel like God's calling me there right now. And you're like,
Yeah, and inside though, it's an excuse.
Yeah.
I mean, I sure do.
Yeah.
Because, the same things come up for me my whole life, about wanting to, be out in the world in a certain way. A lot of it has to do with entrepreneurship. But I let, fear, I go a certain way with it, and I come up to a wall, a block. I'm like, oh, it's hard. So I guess that means I shouldn't do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And,
we as Christians are so bad about, if it is hard, it must not be God.
Yeah, it must not be God.
Because if God called us to it, it's
it'll
going to
be
be easy. It's
Exactly.
going to be so easy. Lord, that is such a lie. That is such a lie from the devil, that if God called you to it, it's going to be easy. Because if God called you to it, it's probably going to be the hardest thing that you have ever done or tried to do or faced in your life.
Yeah. And I mean, we have plenty of, he's warned us, told us about that already in the word. You know, you're going to have trials and tribulations. These things are going to come, but don't be afraid, you know, because as long as you're in me, you've overcome those things already.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's a big, it's a big thing that you have to get through, but it's really just up here.
Yeah.
You know,
it is.
And, so yeah, it's really easy in those parenting years, I found, to just kind of push that to the side.
Yeah.
And so, you know, I said, actually it was when my stepmother passed away, and I was like, you know, this is something that life is very valuable. And I don't want to waste mine anymore. And not raising kids is never a waste.
Right.
But, you know, there's more to it than that for me and for everybody. And so, you know, this is where I'm going to not let fear get in the way. I'm going to take those opportunities that are presented, and we'll see what happens, because it's God's grace that allows us to do anything that we do anyway.
Yeah. We got to walk through those doors. Oh, it can be a little scary when we don't know what's on the other side of that door.
If only we knew everything that was going to happen.
It's like I feel like our on The Price is Right or whatever. It's like behind door number 3. Which one we gonna pick here? But we'll get through it, and we'll walk through the door, and it'll be all good.
Yeah.
Well, Shanti, thank you so much. I appreciate you coming on. This has been so much fun.
I love it. Thank you for having me.
My pleasure. And so tell them what your Instagram is or your Facebook page is, so that if they like the earrings, they can get in contact with you.
So I'm on, so it's Paradise Leather Co. on Instagram and Paradise Leather Company on Facebook.
Okay.
And you can find us that way, or you can look at my personal account, and it's listed under that as well, if that's easier for you. And yeah, so find us there, and we will eventually have a website. And we'd love for you to try our earrings.
Yeah.
You'll love them.
You'll love them. You will love them. And if you are navigating a difficult time in your life and you would like to find out more about coaching and mentoring, please contact me, Carla Webb, and you can click on Book Now on my Facebook page, or you can go to my profile and click the link in my Instagram profile, and it goes right to my book scheduler, where you can schedule a free 30-minute consultation, and we can just talk and see if coaching and mentoring is right for you, and if it can help you navigate this life a little bit better. I would love that opportunity to talk to you about that. So make sure that you reach out to me, and let's just chat. Believe me, no pressure. This is not high pressure sales here. If it works for you, then great. If not, then I will pray for you, and we'll just see where the road leads us from there. So thank you so much for tuning in. This has been If You Only Knew, which is we go live every single Monday at 12:30. So make sure you share this with someone else. Make sure you tell someone else about it. And we look forward to seeing you again next Monday. So take care, everybody, and have a great week. We shall see ya.